even if they say no. So it's a shot, it's an antipsychotic medication. Will really impact Hawaii is supersonic flight. Right? You're going to have some level of criminal activity, some level of homelessness, some level of drug use. Like, whoa, this was great before.
Hawaii, a beautiful place. It's known for its stunning natural beauty, unique culture, and diverse outdoor activities. However, Hawaii is much more than just that. It's about businesses and people, communities and infrastructure, security and education. Today, I have an opportunity to speak with Trevor Abarzua, the President and Executive Assistant of the Waikiki Business Improvement District Association. This video is all about Hawaii, its challenges, and its future, so sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. You attended Arizona State University to study political science, and your initial job was with John McCain's 2016 Senate race. And afterward, you worked for Governor Doug Ducey in Arizona, whom you consider your mentor. Did working for politicians help you improve your skills in politics?
I think it did. There was two different experiences I had. My first job, I was 21 right out of college, was Senator McCain and his race in Arizona. And I was green. I didn't know really anything about anything at that point in my life. I think in 21, you think you know everything, but it was a really great way to really have a confidence to go out and talk to people, talk to voters, talk to people in the community on what the issues are and really relay that message back. And I think the McCain kind of machine at that point, it was after he had run for president. He had this infrastructure of professionals, these kind of campaign managers and consultants and people that were policy experts, that he just had a well-oiled machine, not like any other senator probably in the country had. So just to be able to witness that and to be a part of that, even as like a junior staffer, I would go around the state with the senator. I would drive him because I was like the low man on the totem pole. So I'd be the driver and drive him to places and different speeches and kind of just watch and learn how he interacted with voters, how he kind of talked to plumber Joe compared to, a billionaire, right? And treating him the same. I thought that was the most unique part is, treating everyone the same. But it was a unique experience. It was really great. It was more of like a sales role, going out and trying to get votes, getting signatures, doing phone banks and knocking on doors. It was a gritty job. And I think it was a good way to really kind of, in the small little kind of community in Arizona, just make a name for yourself in terms of, okay, this guy's a hard worker. He's going to do what it takes to get the job done. And he's part of the cause. Like, he wants to get the job done. So it opened a door right after that. So once he won, part of when you work on a campaign too, when you're a young guy or young girl, it ends, right? Election days in November, then boom, your job's done. We won, yay, but okay, now what? And I don't have a paycheck anymore. But through that and through making those connections, I got connected with the governor of Arizona at the time. He was a brand new governor, Doug Ducey. And yeah, I do consider him a mentor. So I started off as a policy assistant and then to a policy advisor. When bills would come through to the governor's office, we would assess them and analyze them throughout the process going through the legislature. But once it got to the desk to be signed by the governor, you would have to advise him on, okay, this law is good because X, Y, and Z, and this person introduced the law, and this is who it's going to help. And then these are maybe some of the negative effects, right? I don't know, if you want to raise taxes on something, okay, great, we're going to have money for this, but then, okay, we're going to raise taxes on this community or this type of business. It was all going through and having this debate with him and then his senior advisors. And then he would either sign the bill or not, but it had a lot to do with how you advised it and the background that you provided. I think through that, learning how to really, the brevity of selling something, there was hundreds of bills and you can't spend 24 hours trying to debate whether to sign one thing or not. So being quick, being precise, and just being persuasive, again, in a short amount of time, and having confidence too. Being able to present something with confidence was key. But through that, I did that for a few years, and then I got promoted up to director of operations with the governor's office. And essentially what that meant was I was his, I guess the political term would be his body guy. I would travel around with him basically 24/7 when he was doing professional stuff. I didn't go to like his kids' soccer games or anything like that. But when he was out traveling the state, traveling the country, even the world, I was that traveling staffer to be there and to advise him on whatever the meeting was about, to kind of be the one to whisper in his ear and say, hey, that's Senator so-and-so from this state. So I was always that guy. And I think, spending so much time with one individual, you get to know them really well. You get to know their quirks. You get to know what sets them off, what makes them happy, but also too, just how they conduct themselves in life. Just kind of seeing the differences even between him and Senator McCain. Senator McCain was more of a military guy, military leader, the way he conducted, meetings and whatnot, compared to, say, an entrepreneur was a unique skill set. So It's been fun. It's interesting. It was a great career. I'm 30 now. So it was a whirlwind of the last 10 years starting my career. It's been fun being a young executive too, and being 30 and being a president and executive director, being in meetings with people twice your age most of the time, and having to have that seat at the table, representing yourself in a manner, but also too, learning from those individuals. You're just getting there. You're new and brand new executive. So I like to watch and learn from the people that are in the room. And even in Waikiki, we have a lot of leaders, and even just bringing that youth too. I think people that are youthful, they have ideas too that maybe the older generation doesn't think about. So it's been a good partnership between me and my partners in terms of that.
Could you please provide a couple of tangible examples of how your organization helps?
So the Waikiki Business Improvement District was established around 20 years ago. The business community got together with local representatives, and they wanted just a little bit extra services within Waikiki. I think a lot of people, when they visit Waikiki, it's so beautiful. There's so many resorts. It's very vibrant. And people forget that it's a downtown city. We have the same kind of things that come up like any other downtown. We have crime, we have trash to pick up. When the business leaders got together, they asked the city to create a business improvement district. But essentially what it is the businesses, all the commercial properties, agree to tax themselves a little bit more. And that extra tax goes into a bucket. And then it comes back to the Business Improvement District Association. And with that taxes, we provide supplemental services, right? We provide extra services within the district to make it more beautiful, to provide extra city services, whether it's cleaning up trash, safety and security, homeless outreach. We have these people called Aloha ambassadors, which I'm happy to talk about. And they are the eyes and ears on the street. They go around and they provide hospitality to the visitors and also to the residents of the district. If you need to find how to get to the beach or where is a good place to eat lunch, they're ready to help you. And we also have safety ambassadors, custodian ambassadors, and also landscaping throughout the district. At the end of the day, we are, again, the eyes and ears on the streets of Waikiki, and we're the ones trying to make it, bring the aloha, and then also to make it clean and safe.
This video was made possible by my friend David Ginsberg of HRS Inc. David and his partner Sweeta Tucker and founding partner Dave Smith represent a retained executive search firm specializing in assisting business improvement districts, downtown, center city, and economic development organizations in identifying highly qualified and diverse slates of candidates for C-suite positions. HRS Inc. uniquely combines deep recruiting expertise and relationships with the subject matter expertise of a partner who has actually been CEO of a downtown organization. Learn more about HRS Inc. on the company website, hrsinc.com, or contact David directly. He's a really nice guy.
Can you please talk more about how you and your organization help mentally ill people on the streets?
We decided we wanted to partner with the Institute of Human Services. It's called IHS here in Hawaii, and they're the largest shelter in Oahu, but also too, they were doing this robust program called Assisted Community Treatment, ACT. And what that was with these severely mentally ill individuals. We've all seen them on the street where they can't take care of themselves. They maybe don't even know where they are sometimes. They might be experimenting with drugs even combined with their mental illness, but they're, again, not capable of taking care of themselves. How can we help that individual? They don't have family members that are taking care of them. The faith-based community isn't doing what they are said they'd do to step up. How can the community within the neighborhood, the Waikiki Business Improvement District, representing the neighborhood, how can we help and step up? Part of the program is for that individual that's not able to take care of themselves. We go to the court, we go to the judge and say, okay, Trevor here, he is severely mentally ill. He's, defecating in the streets. He can't physically take care of himself, but we want to be the guardian of him. IHS wants to step up and be that guardian, and then we'll give him his medication that he needs to kind of get to that baseline level so that we could get him the services he needs. We could get him housing. We could get him back with his family, but we'll do it right on the street, right? These people that are suffering from these illnesses wander around. It's hard to find them, but again, because they're not, mentally there or mentally sound. So the judge then would grant, it takes a process, right? It's not just a quick thing. You have to prove evidence. You have to show videos and pictures and testimonies from maybe people that were harassed or businesses that were affected. And then once the judge grants that to us and to IHS, then we're able to give them medication on the street, even against, even if they say no, because again, we're the new guardians, like you need this medication. So it's a shot, it's an antipsychotic medication. You give it to them and it lasts about 3 weeks to a month. And it gets them to this baseline level that, again, they're able to make these more sound decisions. They're able to get the help they need. Right now in Waikiki, we started the initiative about 2 months ago on that, right before the new year. And we've already medicated 4 people. And those 4 people were medicated out of just volunteering to be medicated. They were severely mentally ill. And we just went up and asked them and said, hey, we have this medication. We could help you. Do you want it? And 4 people said yes. And they were the ones that we deal with every day on the street. They're part of the habitual crime offenders even that are in that geographic restriction. But after medicating them, our outreach workers were able to get them the help they need, get them off the street. And that makes a difference. You're walking down the main strip in Waikiki and we see the same people every day, but you remove 4 people off the street that may be causing problems in the community. That makes a huge difference from that eye test. So we're looking to expand on that. We're looking to invest more money because it's showing that it's working. It's an out of the box idea. It brings the medicine to the street. I'm really proud of it. And we're hoping to keep building on it.
I totally like the idea of turning zombies into humans. I love it. But you ultimately become responsible for these individuals. You become babysitters in a way. Mm-hmm. So how would you handle this kind of responsibility? And don't you think they may start a domino effect? More people would just let it loose, feeling that they can just get free medication, help with everything in life. I don't know, don't you think that the situation may not change in your favor, but there will be just more homeless people relying on support, relying on help that you and your team provide?
It's a good question and it's a good analysis. And I think there's different buckets even of people that are experiencing homelessness, and we see it every day. And I think Waikiki is unique and different of a district. I think if you comparing Oahu or comparing Hawaii, we have communities that experience a high level of homelessness, but they're in maybe more rural parts, they're maybe in more residential areas. And I think they deal with maybe more on the side of, okay, this family is homeless, these children are homeless, or, this is 2 grandparents, they were tired, now they're too old to work and they can't afford their place and now they're homeless, right? Then you have a bucket of, like you mentioned, right? People that are just taking advantage of the system, whether they're just a drug user, whether they habitual crime offender that is always just stealing things, but they don't have that severe mental illness, right? And they're not necessarily that family member that's just down on their luck that just got laid off. They're a habitual crime offender. That is another bucket, I think, that you have to address and take care of. And then there's the bucket of the severely mentally ill. The people that are just screaming, at the top of their lungs in the middle of the road, and you try to have a conversation with them and they're not there. They're totally not there. They're experiencing some sort of mental illness, whether it's schizophrenia, whether it's psychosis for some reason. Assisted community treatment program, that's meant to address the bucket of those severely mentally ill. That's not meant to address that, just kind of guy that's dealing drugs in the park that is just taking advantage of this situation. That's not the people we're trying to help. We're trying to use the Safe and Sound program with the habitual crime offender, getting them off the street and getting them out of Waikiki, facing the judge for the crimes that they're doing. That's what that program is for that bucket, right? ACT is for the severely mentally ill. In Hawaii, and I think it's part of the culture, it's part of the aloha, just helping your neighbor is like, we're going to do what we can to help our neighbor. It goes all the way back to even like ancient Hawaiians and native Hawaiian communities where they had a different kind of way of life. There wasn't necessarily these houses that you had to stay to, and you could sleep on the beach. You could kind of wander around and sleep wherever. That was just part of the culture in ancient times. It's a different feeling in Hawaii, I think, on the issue of homelessness.
Honolulu is known for its traffic congestion. The limited space and high population density contribute to this issue. Technically, having more people on the island is better for businesses, but there needs to be infrastructure in place. And investing in roads and road infrastructure can have both positive and negative impacts. On the positive side, it would naturally improve traffic flow in the city, which is great for economic growth. On the other side, there could potentially be negative impacts. For example, it could be a major cultural impact as construction activities may disturb culturally significant sites, and the visual impact of new roads or infrastructure could alter the aesthetic appeal of the landscape, affecting the overall vibe of the islands. Expanding road networks may lead to increased urbanization. Based on what I just said, how do you grow a city so that this kind of growth is beneficial? And how do you measure success? How do you define what's beneficial, what's not?
It's a great question, and it's something we deal with here every day. The fact that we're an island, it's tough. And coming from Arizona where, you have so much land, and if you run out of land, then you take your shovel and you go a couple miles and then there's open land and you build a new town there, right? We don't have that luxury in Hawaii. And the fact on the infrastructure, on the transportation, it's an issue in Waikiki. We deal with it from the delivery truck standpoint, right? We have a main road that, all the people come in and they park and they get into their hotels. That's all the same road that all these trucks have to come down and deliver the food and deliver the furniture and deliver the flowers to the lei, and everything has to get dropped off into Waikiki. So we have this congestion problem as well. And there's another business improvement district that was created. So essentially a different organization, sort of like ours. And my organization, the Waikiki Business Improvement District, we're meant to keep Waikiki clean and safe. We have the ambassadors, we have the hospitality side. That's our main mission. Now there's another organization that has a similar structure, similar tax-based structure that funds them. And their whole thing is to deal with transportation issues, trying to figure out how to reroute roads or repave roads. That's their whole business model, essentially, or nonprofit model. But it's tough, and speaking from the whole island or the whole state's perspective, you touched on that debate of keeping the beauty of the island, or keeping, as people say here, keeping the country, right? We have these affordable housing issues, we have these kind of infrastructure issues, but, say, okay, well, we could build more housing. How about here? And then you say, oh, no, we can't, that's the marsh, that we can't build it there because there's cultural significance. It's beautiful. We use it as trails. The people that live in that community use it recreation. We can't build there. And it's like, hey, what about here? And then it's always, oh, no, we can't build here because X, Y, and Z. So there is a balance of that. I think what leaders are doing now is trying to really urbanize downtown Honolulu and kind of that metro area on the South Shore, including Waikiki, making sure that we could have the density and making it dense like a lot of major cities around the country, but also keeping the outskirts of the city, keeping that pristine, keeping it rural, keeping it beautiful for the people to enjoy, and to keep it the way it was thousands of years ago. I think that's a big part of the culture, a big part of why people live in Hawaii, why people love Hawaii, and why people really want to visit Hawaii is because of that aesthetic. It's a conundrum. It's definitely a problem. The traffic, I would say, is tough, during rush hour, but it's not like any other city. You go to LA, you go to San Francisco, even Phoenix now, you go to Tampa, there's traffic in almost every metro area. The city just completed a rail system that goes from the west side of the island, where a lot of the suburbia is, where a lot of the workforce is for the island. They live out there and they could take the rail now into the middle part. It's not completed yet. It's a whole other story on the cost and the effectiveness of riding the rail. But hopefully when it's completed, it'll be a really good tool for people to use. Transportation is an issue every day that a lot of cities deal with. Luckily in my organization, it's not something I have to try to fix. But yeah, it's a problem. But I would say it's not too much of a problem. If you came here, if you come visit, which I hope you do, I don't think you would notice it compared to any other city.
You mentioned the railroad. It's something unrelated to traffic, but transportation in general. Do you think that it might be possible in the upcoming century to make a tunnel in the ocean connecting California and Hawaii using Hyperloop technology?
That would be cool. I think it's really far to build a tunnel. What I think, I like to be a futurist too. What I think will really impact Hawaii is like supersonic flight. When you have an airline carrier that is able to get from LA to Honolulu in 2 hours rather than 7 hours, I think that would really change the dynamic here. From a visitor standpoint, even from people, wealthy people, billionaires that want to commute back and forth to San Francisco or to LA, even Tokyo, I think that'll really change the way it is. And we're seeing it now. I think COVID was a big factor in that, where people were able to work remote for those years, and even still. And they were able to leave that kind of dense downtown city, whether again it was Tokyo, LA, Seoul, wherever, and say, how about we just work remote from Hawaii, go to Kauai or go to Waikiki and get a little apartment. So that really changed the dynamic of the housing here. It really brought up the prices on a lot of things, but a lot of different communities saw that. I know there was communities in Colorado and kind of the west of, Montana that saw a lot of wealthy people move in. But again, it's a changing world. I think every decade, every year, the world changes. I like the tunnel idea. I think it would be cool to have a tunnel from like island to island, right? The other part of Hawaii and of the culture is just this stewardship of the land. And talking about the culture, there's a phrase called malama aina, or malama na aina. And it means like take care of the land. I think messing with ecosystems, building tunnels, for example, under the ocean, that might not fly. I think it would, people wouldn't be too thrilled about it, but it's a cool concept.
I have a 3-year-old son whose favorite cartoon is Moana. I love this cartoon myself. I watched it twice. And if you haven't had a chance to watch it, Trevor, you should absolutely do it, even if you don't have kids. It delves into Polynesian cultures, traditions, mythology, and the music is beautiful. In one of the songs from the Moana cartoon, the island people sing, "Consider the coconut, consider its tree. We use each part of the coconut. It's all we need," implying that Polynesian people find happiness in simplicity.
That's all we need.
How do we balance the interests of businesses naturally striving to increase profitability with the concerns of regular people who might be focused on preserving Hawaiian culture and traditions?
That's a daily thing. It's always been a conversation. What was happening back pre-COVID in 2019, it was like breaking records for how many people were visiting the islands, how many people were visiting Waikiki. And it was at a tipping point almost. There were so many people, the beaches were packed, there was tons of traffic, but people were kind of just used to it at that point. COVID hits and now all the beaches are empty. The ecosystems are even healing. Hanauma Bay is one of the greatest places to snorkel in the entire world. There's always fish there, but a lot of the reef was recovering because there wasn't as many people stepping on it or swimming over it, and more fish were coming back. So it was like, oh my gosh, the ecosystem's healing from not as many tourists. But then after COVID, then visitors start coming back. People are like, whoa, this was great before, you guys were here. Now you're clogging up the streets again, you're clogging up the beaches. So there was a very negative sentiment. But again, there needs to be that balance. We can't just say, okay, no one's allowed here, it's only residents. So with that balance, what the Hawaii Tourism Authority is doing is a new campaign called Malama Hawaii.
When it's time to fly, explore, and enjoy, it's also a time to learn. And once we understand our responsibility to care for nature, we'll understand that it's time to give back.
So when you come visit, be respectful. Maybe do like a cultural activity, a volunteer activity. Maybe you go and help with the taro farms out on the west side, or hey, maybe you go to an ancient fish pond and help clean that up and just kind of experience that beauty and that awe of why people love Hawaii. And there's ways to do that. They have groups, they have companies that go and they're Native Hawaiian and cultural practitioners that could take you on these experiences. So I think it's morphing rather than just selling, Mai Tais and sunshine and come party on the beach. I think it's now marketing towards a different type of traveler, more respectful traveler, more someone that cares about culture and cares about the community. Now, it's not saying we don't want people to come and enjoy Mai Tais and party on the beach. Of course, that's part of the experience. But again, just who we market to, how we market, and what type of person comes. And you see it in other parts of the world. Again, I walk the streets in Waikiki every day. 99.9% of the people are respectful, are nice, are enjoying themselves. It's a tough job. I wouldn't want to have to figure it out. It's a really, really tough job of keeping people happy in the cultural element, but also, marketing and trying to sell the state and attracting people to come here. It's a difficult balance.
What is one Hawaiian thing you would not be able to live without?
I would say, the raw fish, like sushi in a bowl. It's amazing. I think it's fresher. You could taste the freshness. I couldn't live without poke.
What is one profession that is exclusively unique to Hawaii?
There are professions here like cultural practitioners to go and teach about Native Hawaiian culture.
Can you say one phrase in Hawaiian? Olelo Hawaii.
Malama Aina. And I know I brought it up. If it wasn't for the land or wasn't for the beauty that we have here and all the bearings that we get from that land, and that's including the ocean too, with fish and whatnot, that is essentially the spirituality of it all. And you got to give back to the land and you got to be a steward of them. And I think humans throughout the world forget that the earth is a living thing just like us and just like animals. And we have to make sure it's healthy and thriving and living.
Trevor, we have discussed a lot of topics and you are truly an interesting guest, easygoing, progressive, sharp. Before you go, I would ask you to talk a little bit about things that perhaps were on your mind, but you did not have a chance to discuss. Please feel free to mention things that you find important, and thanks again for your time.
Thank you for the time. I encourage everyone to come visit Waikiki, come visit us, and please put it in the comments if you'd like to. I'll read them and happy to show you around Waikiki. It's a beautiful place. As long as you respect, Moana Aina, it's going to give back to you. And I think that's part of the aloha spirit too, is that as long as you're chill, you have good vibe about yourself, you're going to treat people the way they should be treated, then that aloha is reciprocated back. It's a beautiful place to visit. I encourage that. And I encourage people to take risks. I think I wouldn't be in this role today if my wife and I didn't take the risk of leaving the comfort of the career I had in Arizona. Take the risk, do it, take the step off the ledge. It's worth it. Even if you fail, I think you don't want to be at your deathbed regretting that you didn't take that risk. So I imagine that's what you feel. deal in creating the podcast, which congratulations on that. I think it's a really big part of life. Just try it. Just do it. I would encourage all your listeners to do that. And it's paid off for us. You got to keep calculated risks, I should say. You have a plan and you have faith that it's going to work out.
Thank you so much, Trevor. It was an amazing conversation.